Well, welcome to our second hour of our Torah portion this week, Tetzaveh. You will command, Tetzaveh. It's a beautiful word. The Hebrew language is so beautiful. I encourage you, even every week as we do these portions, to do your own little study beforehand. I know when Pastor Greg asks the questions, he might ask, what is this word in Hebrew? And you can show off your Hebrew skills and win brownie points and a gold star next to your name by providing the right Hebrew word for it. Of course, I'm joking. There's no brownie point system here. All right, so we're going to keep going on our lessons of the high priest. But before we get into it, I just want to know if anyone, this is our open discussion, this is our open slather, our smorgasbord of opinion and debate and rigorous, knowledgeable exercises of our brain. I just want to ask, does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any concerns? Or things they don't agree with? I usually like those sort of things, but please, now is the time to speak. Anyone have anything to say, a comment, something you learned?
Yes, Tash, the symbols that you said, are they in the resources?
Are they in the resources? I am not sure, but my resources were Rabbi Bayou Baha. I can send them to Dad and I can actually get them onto the website for you if that would be really handy for you. They are from the Midrash. Yes, they're from the Midrash and also Exodus Rabbah as well. So I can get them to Dad and put them onto the web page for you. But it is quite general, commonly accepted that these are the things that the tabernacle has this beautiful parallel between heaven and earth and the universe. So yeah, I can absolutely get them to you.
Thank you. That's the first time I've heard of them. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, I'm so excited. There's always something to learn, isn't there? Yes. Wonderful. Anyone else?
Tashi, it's Cam.
Hey.
Hello. I just wanted to clarify, did you say that the Levites were the only ones who didn't worship the golden calf?
Not the only ones, but that is the generally accepted thing as to why the firstborns were actually stripped of their right to worship God. I'm sure Dad has many things. I haven't jumped ahead to the portion coming up. I'm not sure if we're connecting soon from last year's. I don't know if Dad has anything more to add there. I just don't want to take away from what's coming too.
Yeah. The only reason I ask is that it says here in 32:1, and Aaron said to them, break off the golden earrings, and he was a Levite, and he was the one, he was champion.
Totally. So I'm actually going to get into that right now. Yes, I just want to hear what everyone's sort of thinking first, but we're absolutely getting into that. So I'm really excited to hear what y'all think after what I've studied. Anyone else? Could just be a comment, question, anything.
Are you going to pass your MC sign to Greg after this?
No.
Or is it copyrighted?
No. I told you it should be an effects thing. I really wanted confetti. I like confetti and balloons, just not glitter. All right, if we're all ready, we're going to get into Aaron the high priest. Cam, I am sure, I'm positive that after I say what I say, you're actually going to have more questions than answers about this, okay? Because I definitely do. Because my first question actually on my notes were, is anyone here surprised that Aaron was chosen as the high priest? I was surprised that Aaron was chosen as the high priest. Can I see a show of hands of who else was surprised? Because we know what happens in the chapters coming up, right? It starts with the golden and ends with the calf. Okay, that's one of the reasons why I was surprised, because it seems like Aaron is exclusively responsible for the golden calf fiasco. So we're actually going to look at it. because it seems to me that Aaron actually remains unpunished by what happens with the golden calf. And if so, that means God cannot be just. So there's something we need to reconcile here. 1 + 1 must equal 2. 1 + 1 does not equal a unicorn with a bagel. Okay, that's not how God is like. So Aaron goes unpunished, but the people who engaged in the idol worship were killed. So we have to reconcile these two things here. If Aaron sinned, he would have to be punished. So why do we see him being rewarded? He's being rewarded. The Torah and the rabbis have a really fascinating way of reconciling this. And again, I want to hear your thoughts. When I share stories from when I quote rabbis or things from the Talmud or Gemara or the Mishnah or the Midrash, all of these things, they are not gospel, okay? These are just thoughts. They're schools of thoughts, and it's to get us thinking as well, okay? So I don't want, the ultimate word is the Bible, okay? The ultimate word is the Torah. You cannot trump it, okay? Just want to make that explicitly clear. Okay, so immediately after giving the 10 commandments on Mount Sinai, Moses told the people that he would ascend to the mountain for 40 days to receive the rest of the Torah from God. Aaron was to lead the people in his absence, so the people waited. Unfortunately, they couldn't even wait one more day. Okay, so they were like, okay, Aaron, we want to make an idol that we want a new leader. That's what they were saying. So they demanded to Aaron that he provide them with the replacement for Moses. The Midrash, so commentary, says Aaron tried to stall for time. This is just one side. I just want to get some thought juices going. Aaron tried to stall for time. He told them to gather gold and jewelry from their wives and children, certain that this would not be an easy task. By the time they managed to get the gold together, Aaron hoped that Moses would have returned already. The Midrash says that Aaron was half right. The women and the children refused to give up their jewelry, but instead of delaying, the men took their own jewelry and brought it to Aaron. Left with no choice, Aaron took their gold and cast it into a fire. Miraculously, it turned into the shape of a calf, the golden calf. The people began celebrating the idol that they had made. It was at that moment that Moses returned, and he was not a happy chap. I wouldn't be either. The Midrash offers this story, a parable. As a young prince grew up, he became conceited and wished to establish his own independence. He decided to dig a secret tunnel under his father's palace, which would cause it to collapse. He obtained a spade and a shovel, and when he believed himself to be unobserved, he began to work. The prince's tutor, like a caretaker, however, was aware of his student's subversive activities. He knew that the prince would ignore his commandment to stop, as in he knew the prince would just ignore him anyway. Instead, he told the prince, "I observed you and noticed you are doing a really poor job. You will never succeed in causing the collapse of the palace. Better let me do the task for you." The prince then handed the tutor the spade. At that moment, they were surprised by the king's soldiers and put them under arrest. The king called the tutor and said, "Do not be afraid. Although you were caught with the spade in your hand, I know that your intentions were honorable. You must have planned to detain my son so that I might discover his plot before it was accomplished. In this way, you hope to preserve the palace and at the same time save my son from certain death. I realize that you involved yourself in this disgraceful situation for my sake. I will therefore appoint none other than you to be in charge of the palace from now on." So that's a very interesting take of it. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Cam, because you were asking the question, any thoughts on that one?
no deep ones other than if you take the view that, and I don't know what's coming up, but if you take the view that Aaron was doing the right thing, then it's kind of a great way of explaining that. That's a right or wrong thought, but that's what came to mind. So you kind of have to take your stance. Did Aaron do the right thing or did Aaron do the wrong thing? So
quite polarizing in a sense, isn't it?
yeah.
You can, yes, because you have to reconcile that he wasn't punished. So there is this, okay, so how do we make sense of it? Which is what rabbis and the sages did. I mean, that was their whole purpose of discussing the Torah in the way that they did. Yeah. As
you were reading, I was thinking, well, when Jesus was convicted, it was a Pilate washed his hands of it. So although he was the person in leadership, is he to blame, or are the people to blame because the consensus was that 99.999% of them wanted it to happen, and he had to choose something? And is he to blame, or are the people to blame? So you could argue that God's also fair. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah, that's literally the whole point of this. Does anyone else have any thoughts?
I just can't work out how Aaron gets away with this. For me, to be honest, I was thinking like, I don't know. I just think he should have been severely punished. But yeah, it's hard to understand. Yeah,
and this is just one way that the rabbis reconcile his unpunishment.
It's John here.
Yes,
the fact that Aaron was never going to enter the promised land, the punishment.
There is another reason as to why he didn't enter the promised land. I did so much study on it. I don't want to take away from the coming portions, but there's actually two other reasons why Aaron was not permitted to enter into the promised land, but the golden calf was not one. Interesting. I'd love for you to go and search for that too, John. That would be a nice little side study. Why didn't Aaron enter the promised land?
It's funny, you read a bit further down in verse 5 and it says, tomorrow shall be a festival of the Lord. So I'm curious to see what the festival of the Lord is. And of course, I'm reading while I'm trying to listen to you with, the Midrash and other commentaries. And of course, like you said, I think you said it, or maybe I read it, I don't know, that he was trying to delay them with giving their gold and that. So kind of leading them on in a way, but hoping Aaron would be back, Moses would be back to be able to celebrate the festival. Yeah. I haven't read into enough to know what festival it was, firstly. But secondly, it still doesn't dismiss the fact that he asked them to take off their gold, sort of lead them in a way to go, okay, well, we'll take all your gold off and do this. And yet it could have been a delayed tactic at the same time.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're saying. They're saying Aaron's just stalling. He's stalling. How many movies have we seen where, got to create a diversion for something that's going on in the corner here, someone's sneaking into the principal's office to steal some files or whatever. That's what they're saying. Aaron's stalling. So it says Aaron thought that getting all the gold off the people was going to take a long time, but it didn't, because the men were really wanting to make an idol. So they just gave them his gold instead. So you're right, Kel. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what festival it was that was in verse 5?
I'm not entirely sure. What I do know, there is the word that they use. Kelly, I don't have the
That's all right. I haven't read it.
There is a word that they use that is corresponds to, almost translated to almost like the parties of Egypt.
Okay.
And they were debaucherous. They were, just not good. So when it says that, it is blasphemous. Yes, we're going to consecrate this with feast of the Lord. It says it, I think the word happy. I think it might be a word happy or joyful, something right after that sentence, where it's actually translated to something like the parties of Egypt. which were not very good at all. So yeah, completely. Yeah. Any other thoughts before we head on?
Tash,
Yes.
as Kelly was speaking, I was just contemplating that only the Lord knows the true thoughts and motives of our heart.
Absolutely, he does. Absolutely, he does. There is a reason that God does all of these things. And I can't wait for us to be one with him again and to ask him all of these amazing questions. We'll have so many years to go with. All right, so we're going to get into priestly garments, clothing. Actually, before I move on, Dad, did you have any thoughts on that?
No, not really, no, because we're going to be teaching on it next week. So we'll concentrate on today's. Yeah.
Yes, okay. So priestly garments, Exodus 28 verse 2, everyone's already there. And you will make holy garments for Aaron, your brother, for glory and for beauty. That's really nice. So the book of Exodus has taken us on this journey of God designating Israel as a holy nation. And then he makes a holy day. He makes the Sabbath. In the last portion, the Teruma, God instructs Moses to make a holy place. And now in this portion, he's telling them to make holy garments, holy clothes, holy nation, holy day, holy place, holy clothing. That's really cool. How can an object like a tent or clothes, these clothes, how can they be called holy? Holy garments, if we apply that definition of holy again, we'll come to uncommon garments. And uncommon they were. These garments were set apart. They were elaborate. They were like nothing else that were worn by the nation of Israel. They were set apart. Sometimes the word holy is a bit of an airy-fairy sort of concept for us. So I do like, it's not a magical power. It's not a mystical thing. It simply means that God doesn't want it used for anything else other than his purposes. There are other words in the Bible which you come across in other various forms of the word holy. These words, and you have read them, they're sacred, sanctified, and consecrated. All of these words can be interchangeable. They come from the root word kodesh, which means holy. The scripture says that the holy garments were for glory, or kavod in Hebrew. The root meaning of glory is very similar to the word heavy, as in weight heavy, which perhaps means to give the appropriate weight to something. To take something lightly is not glorifying it, right? I think we can agree on that one there. For beauty, the Hebrew word for beauty is a word that can also be translated to splendor. Garments of the high priest were colorful, intricately woven threads of gold and precious stones. They would have been magnificent. We're going to have a look at some photos very, very soon, just setting up my screens for you guys shortly. So I think there are some lessons. I might say some things that you may not agree with this morning, and that's okay. That's what this is for. I want you to talk to me. I want you to talk back to me. There are some lessons in what we can learn about how the priests were instructed to dress. One lesson may be, I'm sorry if I step on any toes here, but the way that we dress matters to God. It matters to God. I believe clothing can bring honor or dishonor to God. In some churches, not our church. Our church is perfect. Okay, our church is it's the most perfect community. But there, I have found growing up in the 21st century that the culture of church in the way that we dress has drastically changed. It is very normal now to dress super casual for church. And I have seen my fair share of wardrobe failures, and some of my own. It's okay. We're among friends. I've had some of my own as well at church. But it's become a thing that the cooler you are, and I am probably talking more about my generation and perhaps younger, but the cooler you are, the more casual you dress. Particularly for 90s kids and early 2000s, it's almost become very cool to dress a little homeless. Big baggy t-shirts and ripped jeans, and it's really fashionable. And in my own time, I dress like that, but I dress very differently for church, especially in Western church. The way I grew up as well is we tell people and we tell our children, oh, God doesn't look at the outside, so don't worry about the outside. Just focus on what's on the inside. So what's on the outside doesn't matter, so you don't have to concern yourself with it. Just make sure your heart's right. I disagree with this. I think God is about both. I think God wants both. Like Kelly said, the ark is lined with God on the inside and the outside, the heart, inside and out. In church these days, it seems that the more spiritual you may be, the more casual you dress, because you're not concerned with what's on the outside. You're focusing on what's on the inside. But those who dress well on the outside are often perceived to be Pharisees. And I actually have heard this before, Pharisees, because, being dressed in your Sunday best, I've actually heard people talk about that way as to people who still wear their Sunday best to church. They're less spiritual because they're just focused on what's going on the outside. Isn't that interesting? If anything, this portion of scripture shows the exact contrary. God is very concerned with the outside appearance as well. It's not one or the other, it's both. Sometimes we work, in a sense, in ultimatums with God, where we humans, we force God to choose between one or the other. That's not the case. God doesn't have to choose anything on our behalf. God is God. God wants both. And I just put a little star here. I might, I think I'm in a room full of friends. I think we're with like-minded people, but maybe a little weekly challenge for those who perhaps are watching at a later date, or watching things separately to where we are today. A little weekly challenge for you might be, wear something nice to church on a Saturday or Sunday, or wherever you are fellowshipping. Wear something nice, dress well, ladies. Put your hair up or hair down, or put a little bit of makeup on, wear a nice dress. And men, wear a nice dress shirt. You can still wear your casual nice jeans, wear a nice button-up dress shirt. It's hot, so you can wear a short sleeve, put on some nice loafers or some tie-up dress shoes. Just a little challenge. It would mean nothing, really. Just dress well for church. Dress well for church. Does anyone have any opinions on that one?
Yeah, I've often commented about these things, in the last church that we were in. Some of the young ones have come up with short skirts, so short, up, ragged, and Beth would know, we've quite often had conversations about there's no respect, and the young ones don't respect themselves today. Yeah.
Anyone else about dress?
Actually, Tash, we were talking about this the other day with Dennis. And when I grew up, women wore hats to church. It was sort of the expected thing.
Oh, right.
And things have, I think once you reached about 12 or 13, you wore a hat.
Right.
And it was like you had your Sunday best. And I probably have never really gone away from that, although I must admit the clothes do look very different today to what they did in the 50s. but there was that respect.
Yeah, right. I didn't know about the hat thing. That's really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, right. That's really cool.
At best, that was only women that had to wear the hats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The men had to, if they wore a hat, two
they
churches had to take
always
it off.
removed them. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And now the guys wear hats. And I find that very disrespectful. I really do.
Right.
My thoughts.
Yes. I encourage you to have a conversation with Kyle on that one, because he may have some, not that he ever would, but that just different opinions, different things as to in regards to head coverings. Tis all. So let's go to Exodus 28:3. We're keeping going on the making of the holy garments. And does anyone want to read that, actually? Let's read that. Beth, can you read 28 verse 3?
Yes, I can, Tash. And you will speak to all who are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, so that they can make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, so he can minister to me in the priest's office.
Yes. All right. So God is telling Moses here, speak to those who are wise-hearted, those who are filled with the spirit of wisdom to make the garments. Why would God ask that? Not just any tailor or worker could work on these pieces of clothing. I would say that for the reason of whoever made the garments must have had the revelation and the weight of understanding of what these clothes were going to be used for. The ultimate purpose of these being worn by the priests in service to God. That's very weighty, isn't it? Understanding what they were doing. And that was the commandment. Make sure you speak to those who are wise-hearted and whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom. God had already chosen them beforehand. And the making of these clothes, and we'll get into that very, very soon, but the people who were chosen to make these garments would have had to be incredibly skilled. The garments are not sewn like other clothes. Each item is woven and seamless in one piece. Each item. The only exception is the sleeves of the robe, which are woven separately and sewn onto the robe next. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. Hopefully I'm very sorry, guys. This is the first time I've done this. I'm hoping everything goes well.
Ash, before you share your screen, could we just read the passage through to, because you're about to show what's in the passage, it'd be nice to read it just first.
Oh.
And then right down to maybe at the end of the ephod there.
Yes, Exodus 28:4-13. Let's see who can read. Who's the first one there? Dan, can you read Exodus 28:4-13?
Okay. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, an ephod, a robe, a skillfully woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. So they shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother and his sons, that he may minister to me as priest. They shall take the gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and the fine linen, and thou shalt make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen, artistically worked. It shall have 2 shoulder straps joined at its 2 edges, and it shall be joined together. And the intricately woven band of the ephod, which is on it, shall be of the same workmanship, made of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. Then you shall take 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of the names on the one stone, and 6 of the names on the other stone, in order of their birth, with the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet. You shall engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel. You shall set them in settings of gold, and shall put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel. So Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord on his 2 shoulders as a memorial. You shall also make this, is that where to 14, is it?
And
Or
just the next one.
Yeah, you shall also make settings of gold, and you shall make 2 chains of pure gold like braided cords, and fasten the chains to the settings.
Yes, perfect. All right, so I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I'm going to keep talking to you as I show you exactly what is being spoken of here. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, lovely. Okay, so gold, blue, purple, and scarlet, fine woven linen. Okay, so this is the material that is being referred to right here. Okay, it's beautiful. I'm not sure how it's coming up on your screen. Okay, so it's going through a list of things, and this is what comes up. This is the ordinary priest's clothing. Okay, and you can see it has a little bit of a checkered pattern here. It's patterned. Every priest wore pants. There's pants underneath here, a tunic, which is the white thing, the belt, and the turban. Okay, and all of these were linen. And then the high priest. Okay, this is the high priest. The Kohen Gadol wore these garments too, except for the turban. The turban is different, and I'm going to show you. So this is the high priest turban. It's a bit rounded. Can you see that? And the pointed one was the ordinary priest one. So here, in conjunction with the 4 that the ordinary priest wore, the high priest has extra 4. They're actually called the golden garment, which is very cool. But the me'il, the robe, this is the blue thing. We're going to go into all of these very soon. The blue robe underneath, the ephod, which is the apron. We're going to talk about the ephod in a moment because, goodness, that was interesting. The hoshen, which is the breastplate, and the tzitz, which is this, the headband that goes in front of the turban here. And this is both of them. Both of them there. Just see. Yep. Yes. Okay. So this is what we're reading. It's very easy to just read through, but I want to show you all of these things. Okay, just so you can get it visually. I'm a visual learner, so I'm sure there's other visual learners here. The shoulder stones that Dan was just speaking of, they're right here. Breastplate of judgment, the sash, the ephod. This one looks more like an apron like this, but I'm going to get into that. The robe, the pomegranates, and the bells, and we're going to get into that as well when we speak about the robe. All right. Okay, so we've got it in our heads. We know what we're thinking of now. So can anyone tell me Dan, could you read, do you have the One New Man version? Is that what you're reading from? Can I get someone to read maybe, just another version for me? I just want to see what someone else has for what the material of the ephod is made from. It should be verse.
You saying you did want the One New Man Bible tab?
No, give me another one. Verse 15. Verse 15. Verse 15. Can someone read another version that they have?
I can read from Spirit-Filled Life, New King James.
Yeah. Just say the sentence. I just want to see what everyone else's translation says.
You shall make the breastplate of judgment, artistically woven according to the workmanship of the ephod. You shall make it of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. You shall make it.
Okay. All right. That's just one. Most other translations that I read actually refer to gold, blue, purple, and of scarlet yarn, and will make it and of fine woven linen. Does anyone's translation says yarn? Yes. Nat's, Kelly's. Yeah. Okay. So we've got about a half here. Okay. I cannot tell you how much time I spent trying to find info on this, because the obvious, Kelly, you would know this, the obvious problem in your translation is what? I can't
Would it-
hear.
would it-
I'm sorry, I haven't really, I'll be quite honest, I've only just looked at it when you asked me. I haven't seen the obvious. Yeah. Let's have a look.
Can I take
Yes, do it, Tam.
I would have thought that thread, if you thread a needle, it's quite thin, but yarn is more like wool and thick. It's bigger, right? Which is what the picture you showed. It's almost like thin cord to me. It's not thread.
Okay. Any other problem with it? If your translation says this, make it of gold, of blue, purple, and crimson yarn, and of fine twisted linen. If anyone's translation says that, what is the first problem that you may find there?
Yarn is
Is it to do with the material?
Yes. All right. I'll just jump ahead. It's good. It's really good. Yarn is wool.
yeah.
Fine twisted linen. Wool and linen. Wool and linen. Is that not a prohibition?
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. Is
Yes. Yeah, Kelly. Gold star for Kelly. So Leviticus 19:19, you shall not let your cattle mate with a different kind. You shall not sow your field with two kinds of seeds, and you shall not put on cloth from a mixture of wool and linen. Deuteronomy 22:11, you shall not sow your vineyard with the second kind of seed. You shall not plow with an ox or a donkey together. You shall not wear wool and linen together. This is a direct prohibition of combining two pieces of material together. Why? Why is this? I met with Dad yesterday, and I can't tell you how much I came away not knowing more of what I did not know already. So I'm going to put forward one idea, because I do want to get onto this amazing, elaborate, beautiful thing. So the commandment is a statute. What is it, Dad? A hook? Yeah, the plural. Yes. Yes, I'm not going to say it. It's a statute. Again, a law that eludes rationale. The mum trump card, because I said so. Statute. The rabbis say that the laws of combining wool and linen only refer to sewing wool and linen together, as in twining them together, which is what has been asked when making the ephod. They do not restrict, however, wearing a woolen sweater with linen pants. Okay, so it's an explicit thing about weaving them together as to make one sort of garment. So why was the material of the high priest's ephod and the breastplate of righteousness, the breastplate of judgment, also made of wool and linen? Again, Dad, you can correct me on any of these, and I did share a couple of opinions with you yesterday. So I think from what I have studied from the rabbis is God is still trying to make a distinction between the priests being holy, the clothing being holy and set apart, uncommon. He's still making that distinction, uncommon and common. By making wool and linen available and permissible, it takes away the holiness, the uncommonness of the high priest clothing. It's especially set aside for the high priest only. Other prohibited mixtures have the same rationale. For instance, no one but the priests can blend aromatic spices together to make a combination used in anointing oil. Exodus 30:33. The distinctive fragrance would mark whatever is anointed as holy, set apart for God's special purposes. Okay, that's just one. That's just one view. I think there's probably about 6 main ones as to why the high priest was allowed to wear those things. And I'm going to bring up the picture again so we can actually have a look at it, because we're going to get right into this ephod, I think probably one of the most beautiful things I've seen in clothing. All right. Okay, guys, can you see that?
Yes.
This is the first. There's actually two. There's two schools of thought as to what the ephod is. This one, it's almost like a vestment, okay? Or picture a bulletproof vest, right? And the other is this, okay? The apron, an apron, okay? Again, nothing is, again, I told you, you come away with more questions than answers after this, but this is what we're speaking of. How beautiful is it? It is remarkable, okay? Absolutely remarkable. And the funny thing is, Rashi says something really interesting in his commentary on this. He starts describing the ephod by saying, in my heart, I think it's this. And if you know Rashi's writings, he doesn't actually refer very emotionally to most things. He just deduces what is written. But he says, in my heart, I feel it's an apron. I'm paraphrasing here. So the one with the apron is most likely perhaps what it was. Can someone read Exodus 28:15 to 21? Hear beautiful rustling of Bible pages. Exodus 28:15 to 21.
Yeah. Oh, did someone else want to do it? All right. Exodus 28:15 to 21. You shall make a breastplate of judgment in skilled work. In the style of the ephod you shall make it, of gold, blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twisted linen you shall make it. It shall be square and double, a span, its length, and a span its breadth. You shall set it in 4 rows of stones. A row of sardius, topaz, and carbuncle shall be the first row, and the second row an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond, and the third row a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst, and the fourth row beryl, an onyx, and a jasper, and they shall be set in gold filigree. There shall be 12 stones with their names according to the names of the sons of Israel. They shall be like the signets, each engraved with its names for the 12 tribes.
Yes, perfect. So I'm going to show you this amazing picture. I was actually filled with complete awe when I saw this. This is from the Temple Institute website, where they have made these of what they think that the breastplate looks like. Can you see that? That is phenomenal. These are the stones, the names of the tribes, each row corresponding to a different tribe and a different stone. This is it. Isn't it so beautiful? Why, yes, Tasha, it's so beautiful. It's just so lovely. Oh, thanks, guys. It's lovely, isn't it? You guys are great. I know, I can see your faces. You're all wonderfully listening. Sorry, I'll just get something here. Yes, okay, so. All right, so from the description that you just read, it says it will be 4 square being doubled, okay? A span will be its length and a span will be its width, okay? And I tried to do a bit of study on this, on what a span is, and then Dad sort of mucked me up yesterday, and I just come out with more questions than answers. But a span typically is this measurement between your finger here and your thumb over here. And so a span, and I know the jokes, my hand will be twice smaller than every other else's span. I know. That's okay. So a span, this measurement here, my thumb to my pinky, a span wide and a span high, okay? Length and width. So it's squared. So let's just say I'm going to make it a bit bigger for everyone else's standard hands. It's about this big. I know you can't really see that, but you can do the measurement yourself. It was 4 square being doubled. Why would it be doubled? say it was folded, not folded. It was, some rabbis say it was actually like a long rectangle and it was folded, but this is just saying being doubled. So 2 square pieces being sewn together. Why? It looks like a pouch, wouldn't it? If you put 2 pieces together, a pouch. Can anyone tell me what it was a pouch for? What could possibly go into the pouch of the breastplate?
A scroll with God's name on it, and Urim and Thummim.
Yes. Okay. There is absolutely. Yes, Coral. That is absolutely one of the views here. The Umim and the Tumim.
Yes.
I don't think we do it justice in our translation. Umim and Tumim. Does anyone want to have a crack at what these objects are before I go into it? Kelly was excited when you started talking about it. If you want to go, Kelly, you can.
It's like the two, for better use of words, like stones that they would roll. Greg has explained this to me. But it's like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, didn't they illuminate? And depending on how the answer would come out, sort of thing. I need to go back over my notes again, but it's along those lines.
I'll let Tash, are you going to speak on it?
Yes, but please, I would love to hear what you would like to say.
Funnily enough, on the Good News for Israel YouTube site, it's one of my top 3 videos. I get hundreds and hundreds of views on this one. What is the Urim and Tumim every month? That one and the terebinth tree of Moreh. So, but yeah, what Kelly said is that, by the way, no one knows. So nobody knows what they are, but they mean lights and perfection. And you can have a look on our website, even on that page that I'll just share the page with you one more time, and it might save time for me. Can you see that page? Nod if you're seeing it. No one's nodding. Yeah, no, people are nodding. So go down there. I've got a little post there. See that? So this is goodnewsforisrael.com/Torah. Go to the lesson today, Tetzaveh, and you'll find here the Urim and the Tumim. If you click on that, it will go straight to the post, and there's a little video on it as well. And that picture there is the actual Urim and Tumim. I happened to find them in my letterbox one day. No, I'm only joking. No one knows exactly what the Urim and Tumim is, but in a lot of the work that I've researched, there was the Urim like this, and the word means lights, and the Tumim, perfections. These 2 over here would be, if this were the way it was, as the Tumim. The white stone, which is referred to in the book of Revelation, is a yes. The black is a no. And if this stone was to light up, then the priest would put his hand in behind the pouch of the breastplate, or the breast piece, which is that pouch that Tash has been talking about, and select this stone and one of those stones, which are about the same size, and bring out. If it's a black and that lights up, then it's a no. And if it's a white and that lights up, it's a yes. And if one of these comes out and this doesn't light up, God hasn't made a judgment on it. And so I'm sure you'll talk a little bit more on that, but that's you can go and have a look at that and then click on that and watch the message, which I did a few years ago. So there you go, Tash.
No, it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. I'll read this so we know it's actually in the Bible, Exodus 28, 29, 30. And Aaron will bear the name of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment upon his heart when he goes into the holy place for a memorial before the Lord continually. And you will put the Urim and the Tumim in the breastplate of judgment, and they will be upon Aaron's heart when he goes in before the Lord. And Aaron will carry the judgment of the children of Israel over his heart before the Lord continually. These stones, oh goodness, Dad, they are the most elusive, mystical things, perhaps in Judaism, I think. Again, Urim means lights and Tumim means perfections. I think that's probably the only thing that they can accurately sit on at this point. There's really not much known about them. So they were used for seeking answers of revelation, but they could not be used for personal inquiries. Okay, so these were sought from when the king or the high priest, at this point, we're talking about the tabernacle, had to make decisions for the whole nation. These things affected everyone. It's not a personal thing. Oh, what am I gonna eat a burrito or Chinese for dinner? Or is this my wife? Or is that my wife? Not for those sort of things. This was stuff that affected the nation, okay? And when we get to the portions of the kings using them, it's going to be really cool. So some believe they were stones, some believe they were sticks, some believe that there was parchment of the divine 72-letter name of God written in there with 2 stones and all these things happening. Josephus even believed that the Urim and the Thummim were none other than the 12 stones already on the breastplate of judgment. He was living during the time of the Second Temple. He was by a sect of Pharisee, profession of a priest. So this is even someone who is so, he was there. Even by someone who was there, this still eludes the people who were there at the time. So when Moses appointed Joshua as the new leader, Joshua would now be able to seek the high priest for direct communication, but Moses got to speak with God face to face. That's really, really cool. During these times and after, the main way that God spoke to people was through prophets, through dreams, and the Urim and Thummim. Rabbi Bahar says, this represented one of the various stages of the Holy Spirit. Access to God by means of the Urim and Thummim was on a lower level than that at the disposal of a prophet, but it represented a higher level of Holy Spirit than hearing an angel, or what they referred to as a heavenly echo. The words of an angel were a heavenly echo. Isn't that sweet? If you want to do your own study, the scripture references for you, Numbers 27, verse 18, and 1 Samuel 23, verse 9, if you want to see any of those things there. Quickly jump to the, the robe of the ephod. The robe of the ephod. So I'm just going to ask, Therese, are you able to read? Are you in a position to read? No. What about you, Ryan? Are you in a position to quickly read? That's all right. Strapped for time. We don't have to. I just want to make sure everyone's all together. Exodus 28:31. You shall make the robe of the ephod all of blue, and there will be a hole in the top of it, and in the middle of it you will have a binding of woven work with the whole of it as it were the whole of a coat, so it will not be torn. And upon its hem you will make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet around its hem, and bells of gold between them all around, a golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe all around. And it will be upon Aaron to minister, and its sound will be heard when he goes into the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes, so he will not die. I'm going to quickly show you what the robe, very simple piece of, very simple garment, but not simple in meaning. This is the robe talking about. We're talking about the blue robe of the ephod, and it's called the robe of the ephod. It's not part of the ephod, but it is connected to it. So every time they speak about the robe of the ephod, this is it. It is just a robe. And down the bottom, this is what it's talking about, pomegranates and bells. Pomegranates and bells. I showed Dad this photo yesterday of the bells. How intricate are they? Aren't they gorgeous? I never cease to be amazed at the intricacy of all of these beautiful things that God commanded for priests to wear, or a high priest to wear. So a really great story from the Midrash as to why there are bells at the bottom of the robe of the ephod. The Midrash says that the reason was so he would be announced when he entered into the room. So because of that, we should also learn not to enter not to enter our own home unexpectedly. If it follows a consequence then that a man should certainly not burst into someone else's home, you should knock or indicate your arrival in some manner. So they're saying that the bells are to let God know that someone is in his house. Carl, you think that's funny? It's very cool. It's very cool, isn't it? Just let God know you're there. That's why the bells are there. And there's so many reasons, guys. I'm just going to jump through down to the end here, because we are coming down to our last couple of minutes. In the midst of the details that we have been beautifully going through today, I want to get back to how we started, the recognition and the purpose of the tabernacle, God wanting to dwell with man. Okay, so we're just coming back to this. Judaism teaches that when the temple was destroyed, supposedly the Shekinah glory of God departed too, and has not come down to rest again. The prophet Ezekiel saw this and wrote, "Then the glory of the Lord departed from the threshold of the temple." Ezekiel 10 verse 18, if you want to do your own little thing. Lamentations Rabbah says that Ezekiel saw the glory depart from the threshold of the temple to the east gate, and then from the east gate to the court of the priests, and from the court of the priests down to the roof, and from the roof to the altar, and from the altar to the wall, and from the wall to the city, and then from the city to the Mount of Olives, where it lingered. It lingered at, this is what Lamentations Rabbah is saying that the Spirit of God was doing. He lingered at the Mount of Olives, and then he returned to heaven. Luke 13:55, "Behold, your house is left too desolate. But I say to you, you would not see me until when he will come, and you would say, blessed is he who comes blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." This is Jesus saying. This is Jesus. The amazing part, like the glory of God that Ezekiel say was departing, Jesus also departed from Jerusalem, from the top of the Mount of Olives, where he lingered, and then he returned to heaven. Oh man, Israel is waiting for the temple so the glory of God returns, but we know where the glory is. We're waiting for Yeshua to return. Okay? The Jews are waiting for the temple so the glory of God can return. We're waiting for Yeshua. We know where the glory of God is. In that sense, in a sense, it feels like the Jewish people have been homeless, okay? The role of the Messiah is to gather everyone back to Israel, where he will rebuild the dwelling place of God. But the dwelling place of God is Jesus himself. And we're so excited. That is just the last amazing thing I want to leave you with this morning. Jesus is coming back. Let's be very glad and rejoice in our hearts for that. Thank you. I don't know if Dad, if you wanted to end this.
Thank you, Tash. Yeah, what a wonderful session today. Wasn't that wonderful? I hope you gleaned as much out of that as I did. I've got pages of notes here, of course, because when someone else studies it, they get different angles. And what a blessing that was. So, well, folks, God bless you all today. Thank you, Tash. What a wonderful session. You've put in so much work. I'm getting thumbs up there from Sylvia and Melbourne and everybody. Thumbs up. That was a good session. That was a wonderful, deep session. And of course, I think we got through a chapter or so, but well done. All right. Well, God bless you all. Shabbat Shalom. I pray that you have a wonderful week and spend some time with the Lord and your family. And we look forward to seeing you next week on the Torah portion, where we'll be looking at our next follow on from where Tash has left us today. In the meantime, God bless you, and we'll see you then. Bye for now.
Bye.